Today I am alone, looking at roses. I was watching an interview about people talking about my father, Michael Jackson, when he was murdered, talking about his career. And I had such a hard time dealing with it because some of them, they really speaking out the truth that my father was raised only to work and make money. He did not know anything else. So can you imagine becoming a father at a very young age, and then people expect you to make the money that they use. I don't. Sometimes I wonder if Michael Jackson knows, if Michael Jackson fans knows that Michael Jackson was the one financially taking care of the whole family. I mean, he almost paid for the most educations of his nephews and nieces. They expense because other Jackson family always had money problems. When I was young, I never realized that that kind of things was going on in the life of my father. I find out really when my father had died. And I found out with nephews my father did like, and which nephews my father dislike. And some of the nephews, they are still doing a lot of interviews talking about my dad and trying to get money out of him because this is what they used to. And he was the really big, huge sponsor in their life. And now it's gone. And I really feel pity for these boys, that they are not able to let go of the fame and just find a really nice job and let them go and work in Rose's garden, you know. There's nothing wrong about that. And watching this interview really made me realize how sad the life of my father was, and that how sad it made my life that my father couldn't understand that he needed another way to make his life and allowed space for me to be in it. So the reality is that when my father, Michael Jackson, had me in his life, there was no time for me, but I was their child, so he had to deal with me anyway. And everyone only had one plan, was to get rid of me. So this is why I was deported to Haiti, and all these horrible things happened to me because most of all his family wanted him to continue making the money that they all benefit for. You know, I know 100% for sure that his brothers are feeling very guilty about the way they have exploited their brother. I know they feel guilty about it. I know, because I know that they love him very much and that they will do a lot of things to have Michael back in their life. If they could change things, they would, because they sincerely loved him very much. But watching these interviews is very shocking for me, realizing how brutal my father day-to-day life was. It was absolutely brutal for him, the life that he was living, and then having other people's like managers. What happened is all his life, the life have been drained out the life my father really drained out, you know. There was no space for freedom, no space for his own personality. He was only being abused in every way of aspect of his life. He was being abused. And then even in his own family, in his own private time, he was being abused. So that my father have lost me in his life, if you really think about it, it's just not surprising. It was, you could even expect it. You could even expect it that he couldn't keep up because people around him, my existence did not benefit them. It slowed down the money making machine that my father, Michael Jackson, was for them. And while watching these interviews, I decided to go out today, to go out and smell some roses, because it really made me feel sad, the suffering that he went through. It really affected me deeply. I have my personal anger to my father, Mike Jackson, and I'm allowed to have them. When my father died, I had an amazing person carrying me, making me surviving these emotions. So I didn't become depressed and killed myself, because I was a broken woman and my father was murdered. I was so broken. There's no words to describe how broken I was when my father was murdered. I have never cried so hysterical in my life. Even when I was kidnapped, I cried, but I was in pain. I cried because they were hurting me. My body was hurting me. But when my father, Michael Jackson, was murdered, I cried because I felt my soul was falling apart. Couldn't believe the way his life had been ended, and the brutality with it by his own doctor. Can you imagine that? Being murdered by your own doctor? I cannot imagine that. And please, God bless me. Something like this will never happen to me. Please, 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 please. That realizing it's hard. You know, I do my yoga. My yoga teacher said to me, "Are you not too busy with the past?" I think he's right, but I need it. I need it to build my future. I need it so that I can make things better in my future. I need it. You know, life is very short, and you don't control things. But one thing that Mike Jackson, my father's situation, have educated me is that I went through a lot in my life, and I will appreciate it a lot if I have the opportunity in life to enjoy life a little bit. Not that my life only have been surround surviving. And I am thinking about that. If I look at my father's life, I realize many times very well that he had no choice. He simply did not have the control about his life because he was being controlled. since he was 8 years old, or 7 in Hague. In a very young age, he was already being controlled. And I have to be honest about that. In that way, when I think about my dad, I love him more. I love him more for the things that he completed in his own youth. I love him more. And I think there are not enough people in this world who goes very deep beyond his musical career to understand what privately he has survived. The child abuse that he went through in his life is too much. It's just absolutely too much. And everyone who survived this kind of child abuse, in his situation, the character that he had, people should have known that he would never harm a child. So I feel like that whole child molester case was there to control and hurt my father in a way. But I know I want this person, these people who did this to them, I want them to be punished in this life. And I don't believe it's an individual. I think it's an organization who did this to him. And I know maybe after when I die or I'm still alive and old, it will be revealed who was the organization behind that murder Michael Jackson, because this was not a one-man murder. The thing that Kurt Murray did to my dad, I don't even want to say his name of this ugly beast. I don't want to say his name. Let's call him Dr. Devil, okay? Let's call him Dr. Devil. So, anyway, situation is so sad that today, after watching another video, I think I need to get out. I need to smell some roses. Try to put my head on 0. So, that's what I've been doing. Let me smell one good rose, then I hang up the phone. Hang up the phone, I'm not calling, I'm sorry. Okay. I want the world to see Michael Jackson a different way. And I want to destroy the image of the king of pop, because that was just a part of the artist. It was a small part of Michael Jackson, the artist, the king of pop. I want people to get to know him in a different way. And I want people to hear my story, what I want people to hear my story, what I have to say about him. I don't want him to be remembered only for his music. I want him to be remembered for his soul, for his character. And me saying he's my dad, the truth will be revealed. And I would like people to pray for my father's soul. Some people may say he's a child molester, let him go to hell. But these people, I hope they go to hell themselves, because my dad is not a child molester. He's a victim of huge child abuse throughout his life. Have absolutely destroyed him. And I'm going to prove it. They abused him as a child and later steal his child and sell it in children market. They sell me in an illegal adoption, give me to the Dutch government, where everyone tried to take away my identity and who I am. So the brutal that my father went through, I want to expose it to the world. I want to expose it. And I'm not living in a fantasy life. I have the scars to prove it. And I feel it every day. It was Mocienne Petit Jackson. And thank you for following my channel.